Hello, students. Welcome to Legal Research and Writing. I'm so sorry we're not going to be able to spend our first official class together. We did get a chance to meet in orientation. For this first week, I'm afraid I have already been pre-scheduled to be out of town. I made this like a year ago in anticipation of a different start date. So I do apologize for that, but I have everything we need. I've structured the syllabus around it, so we are right on target. Today, we're going to do a little bit of review and talk about the concepts of IRAC and CREAC, and I'm going to refer you to two other pre-recorded lectures just to make sure that we're on the same page when we start back in our class. When we start back in our class, we're going to start talking about roadmaps. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and let us get started. So move this. So I'd like to first go ahead and talk about the syllabus and office hours. So you guys have a copy of the syllabus. It was uploaded electronically to you on Lexis Classroom as well as Stanley. And I want to encourage you guys to read all of that information. I will not be doing in-person office hours. I'll be doing office hours through Zoom. I'm not going to have anyone in my small office this semester. Zoom office hours actually work to your benefit because it gives me a lot more flexibility to meet with students during the evening hours if needed or the weekends. So if you need to meet with me, just send me an email. I'll be happy to meet with you. Usually students don't care to meet with me unless there's a major writing assignment that's due. If you have a major writing assignment due, I will make sure I send you a link to extended office hours. I'm going to get my little small face off the screen so you can see the rest of it. So I'm great with email. In fact, you may contact me anytime before 8 o'clock, and generally you will receive a response that day. After 8, don't anticipate hearing back from me. Make sure that you keep up with your Stanley account. That is my primary way of emailing the entire class. I don't typically have your Hotmail or your Gmail, but I do have everyone's Stickle address. So make sure, especially if there's a major assignment that's been distributed, if there are any changes or anything I need to tell the whole class, I'm going to be sending that email through Stanley. So make sure you keep up with it. So there is a list on the syllabus of important dates. One of the most important dates for this class is November 15th, 5 p.m. That is the day for the final writing project, that final memo. It is due in the registrar's office. More details can be found in the syllabus. What do you need for this class? I end up ultimately printing out all of my PowerPoints. So generally when we're meeting in class, you can count on me distributing the PowerPoint slides in class. My goal is for students to not have to feel like they have to outline for this class. You're going to be working hard enough on the final paper. I don't want you to worry about outlining the class as well. My PowerPoints are very descriptive, so they're going to have all the information you need. You do not need to bring the blue book to class until it says so on the syllabus. The same is true for the green book. We're not going to need that till much later. The Slocum text, you have reading assignments in that textbook, but it's not necessary for you to bring the text to class. It's very important background foundational reading. So how are you graded in this class? You are graded from 60% of the final memo, 40% from the final exam. Keep in mind, under the student handbook, I am permitted to deduct your final grade. So under what circumstances would I ever deduct a student's grade? Well, if you don't complete the discussion board assignments. They're not that many because we're primarily learning in an in-class environment, but there are a few discussion board assignments. And there's one coming up for, since I'm going to be away, involving looking at the memo samples. So make sure you do all the discussion board assignments and the interactive skills assignments that are listed in the syllabus. And as long as you do that, we should be fine. It's very important that students are respectful of the learning environment. So that means unless you have something significant, maybe you have a partner who is going to give birth soon, or you're waiting on an urgent phone call from medical personnel, something like that. Otherwise, I need those cell phones up. Surfing, instant messaging, emailing, all those side conversations, That's disruptive of the learning environment. And I assure you, I'm very jealous of our learning environment. I want to make sure that students have all that they need and they're not disrupted. Now, I already told you about the grade deduction for the interactive skills assignments. Let's talk about the pass-fail writing assignments. So there will essentially be 3 papers you write for this class. The first will be a closed memo assignment. Closed memo refers to the research requirement. I'm going to give you all the research you need. So it's closed because you cannot do any additional research outside of what I've provided. You will be asked to write a short memorandum. I will give feedback, give it back. You will then get an open research assignment. That's where you're going to do your own research. It's going to be a little bit longer than the first memo, and I'll give you feedback. And then you'll have the final graded writing assignment. Now, it's not happened before in my class, but I'm sure it can happen, where students assume that because the first 2 writing assignments are pass-fail, they can blow them off. First of all, that's a really, really bad idea. It's a bad idea for one, because they're foundational building blocks. So in order for me to see how you're progressing, I need you to put your best foot forward on those ungraded assignments. 2, if you don't do them at all, you're gonna have a pretty big nightmare in your hands, because I'm gonna be well suited to give you an incomplete for the course and withhold the final writing project from you, which is gonna put you behind in so many ways. Make sure you turn in your pass-fail writing assignments, that first and second memo, and that it is your best work. If not, you're not going to be permitted to do the final writing assignment. You will get it incomplete until you do the assignments. If you turn in crap, I'm just going to fail you and you're going to have to start over. Even if you do your best, you're subject to getting a writing assignment that's different from your peers, because you're going to start at a different time because you didn't follow instructions. So let's avoid all that headache. Follow the syllabus, turn in your work. Pretty simple. So this really isn't something you should need to worry about, because I'm sure all of you have enough common sense to follow the syllabus, turn in everything by the deadline, and turn it in, period. This will only kick in if someone is foolish enough to not submit one of the writing projects. If they are, well, I hope the Lord is with you. So we're going to have some flipped classroom days. Flipped classroom refers to the concept of me lecturing primarily like this, asynchronously online, and that's coming together in the classroom to actually do work. So it's flipped because typically you have lecture in the classroom and students go out to do homework. This way we'll be doing homework together. This flipped classroom environment works really well for legal research. It can also be helpful for legal analysis. The days that we will have a flipped classroom are already indicated in your syllabus. We will have a mandatory computer research training, definitely with Lexis. Our Lexis rep is a wonderful South Texas grad. I will try to set up something with Westlaw, but it's been a little troubling in the past, so I may do the Westlaw training myself, but make sure you attend that mandatory computer training. All right, so that's it for the syllabus. Let's just do a little bit of a review about legal writing and CREAC. You should remember some of this from orientation. So legal writing is very different, and I think that frustrates many first-year law students. Even if you're a journalism major or you're an English major and you think of yourself as a wonderful writer, legal writing is very different because it's based on deductive reasoning, where you want to start with that bottom line conclusion and justify it. Legal writing, whether you're writing a memo or a brief, is not like a murder mystery where you're going to draw off the conclusion to the very end. Instead, you're going to start with a conclusion. Legal writing has to be reader focused. And remember, legal readers need context. It's so much easier to understand information when you give the person the relevance. So your big graded assignment is going to be in first semester legal writing, a memo. Legal memos have a standard format. They typically say memorandum at the top. They'll have a to, from, regarding, and a date line at the beginning, followed by question presented and brief answer, followed by the statement of facts, followed by a discussion section, and then the conclusion. Notice I have the discussion section in its own color. This is the most important part because this is the lawyering part. This is also the part that should highlight IRAC or CREAC. In the discussion section, you will give your prediction and provide your analysis to support or validate that prediction. Now, keep in mind that legal writing 1 is objective writing. Legal 2 focuses on persuasive writing. This is not the time for you to be argumentative or pick a pony in the race. This is a time for you to neutrally describe the facts, make prediction of what the law should be or what's probably going to happen. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not persuading at all, but instead of persuading or advocating for a client, you're going to be advocating for the correctness of your conclusion, whatever it is. You may conclude, for example, that the client's going to lose. Well, prove it. Show me why it is that the client is in such a bad place. So in that case, in that aspect, you are doing a little bit of persuasion, but you need to make sure you look at the law objectively. So if I say you're representing client A, I don't need you to cherry pick cases and analysis that just makes client A look good. I need you to objectively analyze the law. So legal proofs help us with our organization and our analysis. I think the legal proof is just a pattern based on the deductive analytical pattern, where you start broadly and you get more specific. So many of you have already heard of IRAC, or you recall me talking about IRAC in orientation. IRAC stands for issue, rule, application or analysis, and conclusion. Some LRW professors who teach IRAC add their own little extra things. They may say rule support or rule 2, application followed by case comparison. I like to follow the legal proof of CREAC. I want you to know that IRAC and CREAC are essentially the exact same things, just different terminology. One distinction, in CREAC, you're saying your issue in a conclusory fashion. The client will probably be unable to establish a prima facie case for sexual harassment. That would be my first sentence in CREAC. In IRAC, it may be the issue in this case is whether or not the client can establish a prima facie case for sexual harassment. So the same thing, just, it's a slight variation where you start with your conclusion. The rule is the same. You state what is the rule of law. In order to have a prima facie case for sexual harassment, the plaintiff must prove the following 4 elements. You list them out. Your rule explanation, which some in IRAC refer to rule support, is an opportunity to discuss precedent, the facts, holding, and reasoning of case law that illustrates the rule that you just articulated. Followed by your analysis, where you apply the client's facts to the rule of law. And you may do case comparisons, comparing the client facts to the case facts in precedent, followed by your conclusion. So that is CREAC, and that's what we're going to be focusing on in this semester. Our next classes and next 2 recordings are going to talk about that in greater detail and give you samples. So start with your bottom line conclusion. What's the black letter rule? What's your precedent? Give your case comparisons, restate the rule. That is CREAC. Your discussion section is about sections, paragraphs. It's not about a sentence of analysis or a sentence of what the rule is. Think of it as being broader sections. So the basic template, which we're going to discuss in greater detail when we talk about roadmaps, is to begin with the overview paragraph, followed by a thesis paragraph, your rule explanation, where you talk about precedent, your analysis or application, and the restate the conclusion. Now you'll be seeing this basic argument template quite a bit. It's okay if it's not that familiar the first time, but eventually it's going to become really familiar. And sometimes the best way to learn things like CREAC is by doing it. And we will have an opportunity to do it shortly. So that is it for the class. Let me get you back. I'd like you guys to look at the videos on the memo sample, which hopefully should be right under this video, and the one on roadmaps. And then we'll be ready to get together in class. So we are not meeting the first week, so you can focus on your doctrinal classes this week, but we will meet after. So we'll just follow the syllabus. I hope everyone is well. I will be checking my email in my absence, so please feel free to email me with any questions. And I can even have Zoom office hours if needed. Have a great day.